Hello, Judge Napolitano. There are a whole bunch of people with the places next to colleges in other cities who have been involved with predicate acts with phones with Weathersfield police, with a whole bunch of people from different areas on my street, with people who went to my grammar school I never even had a class with, increasingly involved with predicate acts with facts, with people putting fake things in databases at each campus I went to and names next to them, which I would have ignored, except it is increasingly being demonstrated to me by nature itself how those people had roles of the World Trade Center attack, and with all natures of all kinds of all the countries that Judge Napolitano has and his subjects. They have roles of a whole bunch of people, including a Casper family. Increasingly, a Casper family is putting fake ties, fake natures and ties to me as one of the people from my grammar schools. And people from Hartford Hospital brought him up and some other guy I don't know the name of who threatened to stab my eyes out, who's involved with some police phones families and people tied to them near me in fire departments and foreign and domestic leaders of kids and kids. Like there's Afghan leaders of kids and their kid that sought me out to record, confess, demonstrate, confirm people with Los Alitos on uh, Zion Street. If as unmarked police firms or what they are, or intelligence, whatever, they have wire crimes at the Weathersfield police, forging and switching names, putting fake things in databases since I was a kid against me. And no one's giving me, and they're attaching me and everyone around me to fake change communications with each other's. And about conversations I never even had conversations with them or anything anybody else about. And about things that aren't even real, they pretend I had conversations about, like police surveilling me. A Leahy family, Judge Napolitano. I swear to God, I had no conversation with the Leahy family. 3 times they used Hartford Hospital, 2 times to cover up what I caught them doing there the first time when I forced them to get me someone to communicate with. I saw the people there recorded guilty involved with a Dillon family before that. In other words, I had to force people to call the police without telling them why. I told them I'm going to keep going until you do it, and I did that. And no, they can't get on paper. No one will communicate with me, Judge Napolitano. And they're offensively pretending they did, putting fake exceptions. All exceptions they use criminally for evidence still. Tactically delusions wrought, disbounding black pupils. I say it that way because we have black pupils, whites of eyes. And it is more probable than what they theorize, let alone what they convict about American history. Criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions wrought, their takes on American history, the experts on psychiatry, Judge Napolitano, they're forging names of other doctors too. Increasingly, there's a Judge Napolitano, a Jody Smith. So I never had a conversation with her mother. They tried to film a fake exception with people that right after they do the same thing in East Hartford. East Hartford has roles with people with the name DeMauro Scalora, involved with the former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and people with the name Scalora and DeMauro and Robert Chevrolet is involved as a lawyer, a former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, former standing chairperson on the Racketeering Influence and Corrupt Organization Act. I am not a lawyer there. This breaching method showed them they need to cover up how it showed them to group criminal enterprises wrong, all leaving out all the ways that all kinds of roles with unmarked. I don't even know the name of the neighbor of the former roommate of Ray Coloa. Increasingly, a Mark Violet too. People involved all along Route 3, and like with a religious place there, and people on all sides on the sides of religious places with a Mark Violet involved. That's one of the things that ties people involved with the World Trade Center attack, and all sides of criminal and civil cases, and the courts at the same time, as people involved by officer Detective Samuda switching names and other crimes with intelligence at East Hartford who make falsified police reports with him. He's also got a girl who said that I believe that's the one that she said that was she thinks was the one that was calling in rape threats to her, sexual things at her at the business office, which is also involved with them with people tied to a Czech Casper. A Czech Casper is increasingly involved also with former police families, intercities, and mayors involved with identity theft, fraud, slander, making fake exceptions. It's concentrated with the mayors, people tied to a Senator Lieberman. I never had a conversation with Senator Lieberman. This is a context where this breaching method employed A through Z to blame other things, others, ourselves for what it caused, and then to defend that so it could hide through and with that, and no one even realizing except for extent, but then it's too late. And then modern religious messengers came about, and then America's founders came about without free speech. There was a breaching method entrenched with slavery and crazy laws of it, torture, extortion, slavery methods against everyone sickly distinctly, northern colonies and southern colonies. Rather than bring that up, how it was simultaneously recorded, including with witch trials, including if they were made up. Rather than bring that up simultaneously, you look at discern the breaching method there as a breaching method /S, only loud rolls. Why is the quote Uncle Tom unquote distinct from anyone else as both slaves? Because distinct. In other words, the breaching method is forced in that. So when we talk about it leaving itself out, leaving its uses, the differences in black and white people, black people's white divides, and this left out of forces. While nature, this is one of the leading principal things we know true always. All exceptions come with demonstrations. The same thing it's in demonstration of. And with the other species' bodies, eyes, distinctly, non-distinctly, simultaneously / hyper simultaneously. So in other words, the first time they forced me there, and I saw them there. In other words, apparently there are two Brendan Leahys there, a father and son. And they're females in their family too, I believe. And they're just faking conversations with people, and they have collusion with people who have been doing that at and between each campus I went to. And the difference between our side's roles with this, a whole bunch of different countries, because that's part of how it's recorded where we could all see it. And overt criminal enterprise, private ones, and terrorists, right? With the World Trade Center attack. Whiting forensics recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. They have wire crime roles, and digital crimes, and federal evidences crimes with a Joshua Julian, people tied to a Joshua Julian, who Ray Kalal repeated the name up to me, and Mark Violet repeated the name Joshua Julian to me, and Maria Pizzino. She's also involved, and Steven Stocco is involved with Weathersfield Pizza House, with all kinds of federal crimes and federal evidences crimes, and police that are refusing to identify themselves. Also with other businesses at corners of streets, and that's like an exception. But it's all along Route 3. It's right next to Route 3 North, which goes right in its conjunctions to that. Like the state capitol is right on Route 3. I mean, the state judicial branch offices. The same names have collusion with predicate acts at and next to the corrections offices, and at and between campuses, intercities. Central Connecticut State University intelligence and people from other countries and cities recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. Stephen Stocko's involved with them with predicate acts, identity theft, fraud, slanders, lying about himself and me with my neighbors. One's involved with wire crimes, mail crimes, falsified police reports since I was a kid. Also with their educators that are building upon these fake conversations and ties to me and other people in other classes. They plant fake exceptions. Also, there's a Bob Chase with a Whiting forensics, because they arrested me with a charge of harassment, for example, as one of the times they arrested me, when I caught them with a proven child abuser of kids, and with some police confessed the name Scalora and Robert Rodriguez involved with predicate acts with them, and with some untimely deaths at Trinity College, and with my past neighbors, and with switching names, and with having people fake and change communications with everyone around them, and then that. And it has something to do with their roles with body dumping spots, one at Trinity College and one on my street that are connected. and there I believe there's another body double spot too. But that's one of the ones involved with that. Brought up the principal child abusers campus to me. It also has a whole bunch of people from the Hartford Hospital's Institute of Living with badges and ones with gavels, increasingly putting fake things and tied to people that have predicate acts there and at people in people's areas. And the sequence shifting, identity theft, fraud, slanders. They have roles with all people all along Route 3 with prosecutors and judges tied to a Cololo house, involved with the Scalora house, and with the name Scalora also for themselves, and the police forging and switching names. Then they're lying about people's neighbors and who's saying what. In other words, they're lying about motivations. They have a whole bunch of different countries, like Mark Violet as a stranger sought me out. Mike Kerr as a stranger sought me out. What's his name? Justin Kovinskis. I don't even know Justin Kovinskis' name. They have roles with like foreign and domestic military, intercities, interstates, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions, raw fakes together at next to the campuses. At next to each of the campuses I went to, there are people involved with wire crimes on my street with police forms, and people from other areas have been refusing to identify themselves. Judge Napolitano. It's increasingly tight. They sent through the mail, not to me. They won't. No one will communicate with me. This lady family put me in fake conversations with them and about legal cases where they have roles with the federal criminals and their family members and their neighbors involved. Dearborn Street in Newington, Connecticut is increasingly involved with predicate acts against me and people near there, involved with foreign and domestic medical families, too, with the judges and prosecutors' families as the ones right there involved in changing and faking what's recorded, including digital. They're hiding what's actually recorded with use/s of Judge Napolitano's social media with Fox Connecticut News before he was not with them. See, they're having them groupthink where they communicate fake things, jump them into the atmosphere, and all fake. As predicate acts collusions that rolls with the use/s of all natures of investigations and of investigators being and having been used, criminally foreign influence / tactically delusions raw. And this is relative to why and to how. There is still shock and awe regarding how to treat syntactically what witch trials are about. Witch trials are a blessing no matter who made it up and for what reasons. They are simultaneously means to show hyper additional about how slavery comes with and as a hyper additional worse, but not until realized, paid attention to. Then it becomes hyper additional, hyper positive nature. See, there's a difference between making hyper positives out of negatives than making criminal insidiousness natures of positive out of negative, as you guys do with truth. You guys have the words of our founders self-valued and used remotely, be self-valued as styles of it too, and as natures of it, pretending other two simultaneously for the reaching of the tactical military with our founders communicated for themselves. Uses of their words, leaving out what they declassified about that, leaving out with the breaching method. It's rolls with that, discernible. Leaving out nature's means for us to discern that as well, black pupils. Whites of eyes, you don't see. In other words. So we are in a semi-ancient trap. We should have, we need to use its method. We need to allow free speech. That doesn't have to entertain this, which is tactically delusions or criminally foreign influence. Fact-checking nature, quality aspects of nature associated with the syntax of the voices of the science's name, individually grouped and together. For example, regarding good writing is vigorous and concise. They fake and change what we say when we use a vigorous and concise language regarding predicate acts and regarding the criminal insidiousness nature and regarding the nature of correlation. There are proofs that the colon was originally referred to as the victory. But they were led by the hyper invisible but still discernible. And a victory is only an indivisible but still discernible. As would be taught and as is discernible, all parts of speech are about the invisible but still discernible. And it comes with the hyper invisible but still discernible. To an extent, we can discern. But wherever that is, it comes also with its complete identity relationship to itself, and only increasing value with that. Vaccines. I do those things, but long. Prepare. I'll try. In other words, I went down there. There's people with the name Lombardo, and increasingly people with the Weathersfield Community Center, people from Central Connecticut State University in New Britain, Connecticut, the side of it. They increasingly have roles with illusions cast by a Jeremy Grohl and a Subby Bajerio. A Jeremy Grohl was living next to the state and next to the on one of the sides of the Connecticut Weathersfield Community Center. And they have roles with various federal crimes and predicate acts with Judge Smith and a prosecutor named Salisbury. And there are people with the names Brendan Leahy's also involved with a Brian Silver with New Britain Superior Court, Connecticut's District Court, and with Hartford Courts and Middletown. There's a Middletown Whiting Forensics is increasingly involved with people tied to a Joshua Julian, involved with increasingly with child abusers, leaders of kids years apart that had roles with U/S of that. Increasingly, Weathersfield police have people involved with their Facebook page, like a Joshua Schumack, involved with conjunctions to Route 3 and Walker Hill Road and the Sawston Highway, like where the police station is now, and spots next to it involved with predicate acts with the Schumack family, with child offenders, leaders of kids, and some big KKK, black themed, Confederate flag themed, and interreligious spots and names next to them themed nutbags. Consciously, purposely wanted themselves to be called names because of their roles with sequence shifts and needing to screen motivations, nature's needs and interests, other names and things, and roles with a breaching method singular too, because that is one of the scientific values replaced with American history. There's a Christina Sioka who has a doctor who has a boss who helped her get a license in psychiatry. I don't know his name. I mean, I never saw him in real life. He's one of the ones who pretended through the mail too. That was before one of those 3 times at Hartford Hospital. They do work at Hartford Hospital. And she gave you some IQ tests, some tactically delusions wrought, criminally foreign influence, takes on American history too. James Madison was our founder before he was a president. Simple as that. In other words, please, Judge Napolitano, get them on paper, one name in sequence. They're putting fake things, and it has something to do with this guy who pretended he had a conversation with me, some Dr. Gilmore. These are people with name switching. Sometimes it's people with different names, but they're also involved with people increasingly at the Weathersfield town offices and involved with streets and spots and names next to campuses, planting evidences, increasingly with people on off the state judicial branch offices, off the state corrections offices. The Casper family brought up in the confessions. A guy said he was going to lock me down and stab me with a needle. And I've just been minding my own business. In other words, because they put fake things in records at Hartford Hospital's Institute of Living. I mentioned it before about how it was about, that was another kid tied to a Smith family involved with the Weathersfield town offices, where it used to be the Weathersfield police too, and the library. So they have roles with the people next to them named Cololo, but there's a Phil Cololo. I don't know where he lives. And then he's non-verbally confirmed with another guy in a short time from that on their bicycle They were influenced to ride by on bicycle. In other words, a Bob Chase, and one of them was screaming out one of the names of one of the little girls I had recorded them roles with, the principal child offender with. They're more involved then and now, like with the name Scalora and others. In other words, through they're attaching the fake, and the kid tied to the Smiths is also tied to a woman with the name Pierce, who her doctors also attached her and me and him, the kid, to fake ties, fake natures, and ties to each other. These are people I've been planting evidences on all sides of my house from other locations, and they're a part of descriptions where they're posing as patients or whatever. Especially if they're posing as patients and they're supposed to be undercover police. They have roles of predicate acts, identity theft, fraud, slander. It was recently reported in Fox Connecticut News. Every time Fox Connecticut News reports something, these are increasingly people with the FBI. Director Robert Luskin and his co-defendants, Thaddeus Grabowski, is increasingly involved with a whole bunch of people involved with falsified police reports, with and as Weathersfield Police, involved at those spots next to in Hartford, next to Fox Connecticut News. There are two Mendez police brothers, and there are two Domain brothers involved with intelligence families, and he repeated sexual things about a girl named in other words, about people along Hangdog Lane and Two-Rail Highway involved with this Leahy family per people tied to them, and this Kolvinskis with the KKK black theme, Confederate flag theme with the violet, and people from Yukon involved at Central Connecticut State University, and with the spots next to Hartford Hospital. Not legitimately as intelligence, foreign or domestic, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw. In other words. And so the people involved with the World Trade Center attack named Scalora and tied to them, they forced the Saudis to collusions with them, and they said they confessed it involved with the name Scalora as a stranger to me, to make it look like I knew them before that, and it was out of nowhere on near Franklin Avenue, all along Franklin Avenue, all along the Borough Turnpike before the heart of Hartford. Increasingly, too, there's all along at both ends of Hangdog Lane, Two-Rail Highway, and their conjunctions. These are also people with the name Casper and Pete. I don't know the Pete's last name, involved with Rocky Hill and Weathersfield, Newington. Intelligence and foreign and criminally foreign influence with foreign bodies and with differences, rackets, identity theft, fraud, slanders, putting sequences, pretending to perceive hate. They have increasingly roles timed with use/s of connected body dumping spots. A Sal Saviello from my fourth grade class is one of the ones increasingly involved, like with a Morin family, with syntax with people at the Weathersfield town offices involved. There was a Julie Morin in my class. I was only found her and my other classmates. I had no problems in my fourth grade class. In other words, and then in my fifth grade class, I minded my own business. I had no communication with anyone. He has a Paul, a Joe DeMoro, and others from off campuses, and we're associated with the body dumping spots and stuff from years early. Other natures of organized crime from years earlier. Like these people that know that American history and nature shows us good things and bad things simultaneously about our countries, for example, and the identities of law. Like you can't tell American history properly if you don't talk about how witch trials about the corrupt courts. When did that stop? When did it stop? When their integrity that's never been there is entertained? When the subject of black people's rights of eyes comes up? That's why that never came up where it's being shown to us by nature itself. and by our founders when their communications is put proper. So you guys have people who are supposed to be experts on things just because they have a job and they're supposed to be an expert. They're tactically delusions wrong and reliant upon criminally foreign fact, true nature, quality aspects of nature, and whole wire crime acts and methods, whole mail crime acts and methods. That's why they're fishing. They know. I sent one letter to them only, and they're needing to hide. They've been planting evidences in their cities with the FBI director in a whole bunch of different countries before the World Trade Center attack in that context and since. The same ones involved with predicate acts on my street and with the untimely death rolls with the Robert Rodriguez. He's also one of the ones who sought me out as a stranger to record, confess, demonstrate, confirm his roles with all sides of a religious spot through different types of it being different types of religions too on Route 3 in Wethersfield. Also, people with the name Kerr and also Officer Jerry Miller was pretending I was growing pot on my porch as one of the one right before the pandemic. Also, recently, Ron Adams was also pretending that. These are people also with a Joshua Julian on YouTube, on Facebook with the principal child abuser's Facebook page, with some KKK, Confederate flag themed, black themed, Latino themed, Italian themed, identity theft, fraud, slanders, and they're educators putting kids to fake ties, fake natures, ties, fake locations with other kids that they don't even know at all from off campuses because that's also fake for them. That's why it's important to not let the interbranch switch names and forge names and hide and change and fake what's recorded. They hid it. They just took away all my emails when I did try to communicate with an officer. Tactically delusions raw, criminally foreign office, foreign influence that officer. So these are the FBI director and other agencies, foreign and domestic military involved. And then they have Facebook involved and Hotmail involved. And these other, oh, well, it's this or that. How do you know? Well, how do I know? Get it on paper. I'll show you how I know. That's why you guys are leaking, asking such questions, and forbidding us obligated interbranch, forge names, switch names. Who disbelieves? You guys are obligated not to leave me standing here begging online because you already use wire crime acts and methods. You attached me to fake conversations and at the police station. Wasn't at all when I was a kid. Didn't have the conversation with the police at all when I was a kid. At my house or anywhere else either. One time they stopped me in the snow with a three-wheeler. Nothing like, that was it. Things like that. In other words, that's the only thing. In other words, black pupils. So in other words, they wanted me to go speak with them when I was a kid. I didn't go speak with them. And there was no reason for me to. They just put some kid with a Chris Walters with a Ray Cololo. Now they increasingly recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed involved with people with medical corruption and people with the name Charlie Bose and at their campuses involved with them. A whole bunch of people at Trinity College recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. Joshua Strikers involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders against me, and lying about himself and me with the FBI director to and with leaders of kids, and with people at and next to Trinity College, people at and next to Central Connecticut State University. These are people on Elm Streets in Rocky Hill and Wethersfield, where they are criminally foreign influence, sometimes themselves, sometimes the people that influence them to plant evidences. But all that is fake too. They'll tell you, I never tried to contact Eric Oliveri in my life. I only know him seeking me out with one of the girls who brought up her confessions about the people involved with increasingly with predicate acts on my street and their roles at parks and next to it with former mayors and overt criminal enterprises and private ones involved with grammar school kids and middle school kids involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, sequence shifts, putting predicate acts, fake things in databases and acting tied to it. All kinds of behavior racketeering, worse than war crimes, roles. Because there is a worse than war crimes method that modern nations have state self-value roles with while being and haven't been used remote black pupils. It is time. So please, Judge Napolitano, those fake conversations they have with me, they have with those people at Harvard Hospital with the Institute of Living and people with the all kinds of scams with the legal there, while tactically delusions raw too. And the same names involved with the names at the businesses next to Harvard Hospital through time, and with the and with the houses like a John Mayano is one of the ones recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with federal evidence of crime. Some way his family, some way the people that influence him, his roles with like the courts, with predicate act sequence shifts involved with him, with behavior racketeering, all kinds of people at Harvard Hospital, and this Leahy family. And a Rick Sam Paglione sought me out to make confessions about this and confirmations and demonstrations about this Jonathan Mayano too. I never saw Jonathan Mayano and 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 Rick Fagioli near each other. After my neighbor graduated, who was in my class with them, we were in the same class, and they used to hang around with John Riano, apparently. In other words, and demonstrably, but not me. You know, they had to cover. That's why out of nowhere he came right when my car broke down. He recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, and then he said different things. He's going to be honest about that and the timing of it. Because these are increasingly people involved. A whole bunch of ways, criminally foreign influence / hyper criminally foreign influence. And involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders. And they have roles with all sides of criminal and civil cases. And the courts, names, and intelligence names themselves, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw. And the roles all along roads and routes. So, like the Berlin Turnpike, 3 spots at the Berlin Turnpike are increasingly involved with people involved with the Delafair family, Peraspada family, involved with a Fred Grouzet. A Spada family and a Fred Grouzet have federal evidence of crimes with judges and prosecutors and criminal enterprises and people intercities involved with intelligence, involved planting evidences at 3 spots at the end of the Berlin Turnpike, including where and how they make fake exceptions of people knowing each other and have other people filming. And she implied that someone was supposed to smack. She made it look like, or she was just supposed to make it look like that was going to happen. You can't tell. But in other words, because they're involved with behavior actions, it has something to do. Her and Chris Walters recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. And there's people at the end along Walker Hill. At the ends of it, like in other words, like there's Walker Hill and Knott Street is involved with names I don't know, and they've been spreading fake things about me with the prosecutors' family members and judges' family members. But these are concentrated probate court judges, but these are ones that were stacking in the Britain Superior Court through time since I was a kid, stack conclusions with predicate acts with facts, overt criminal enterprises. There's a John DeMorrow in Weathersfield, Connecticut, who sought me out a few times to record, confess, demonstrate, confirm he has something to do. He's one of the ones involved with on-off town line drive locations, with people involved with the World Trade Center attack. A town line drive in Weathersfield, Rocky Hill in Connecticut, Weathersfield, Connecticut. People involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, and fire departments. A Delafair family tried to film fake exceptions of themselves knowing me. And knowing they were trying to set me up with judges and prosecutors to get in trouble and framing me for things that they were doing. In other words, they have rules with identity theft, fraud, slanders. Has something to do. There's someone, I don't know his name. One of the whole bunch of brothers, I don't even know their names, is involved on Route 3 and Cromwell. And Joe DeMorrow said he's got roles with the people with the these are people with the medical corruption and self-value rules with the houses next to the campuses, like a child campus in Cromwell off of Route 3 through time is involved with medical offenders next to the campuses who have roles with overt criminal enterprises and private ones. at grammar schools too. All kinds of identity theft, fraud, slanders, all kinds of sexually involved roles with the kids, where they're involved with scams, and they're lying to the kids' parents behind their backs. They're putting fake ties, fake natures of ties between and to the kids, and they're pretending people know the kids that don't. And then as adults, the same family members. So it's important. There's a Brian Silver with the courts, with multiple courts, and there is a Emily or Amy with Hartford courts involved with former director of the FBI Robert Luskin, and a Eric Burgess, and a Mark Violet, and a Justin Kovinskis, and a Joe DeMauro, and a Ray Colon, involved with federal evidences crimes and people with next to the body dumping spot of a serial killer, even if that was made up. That serial killer and people with Sandy Hook campuses who are also with the O'Brien Cololo wire crime acts and methods. Increasingly, people at Hartford Hospital also name drop. That's what they do. They name drop, walk by, and pretend there was a conversation. They have people with the name D. Simone involved, which is also reportedly involved with the police departments like Newington Police. Have a bunch of people involved with the Ray Cololo, and his cousin, Phil Cololo, is involved with them too. With Bob Chase. Bob Chase brought up a Phil Cololo involved with the falsified police reports used to force the principal child abuser. They've been hiding and changing what's digitally recorded, including the actual substance of my emails with a Wethersfield police officer who was involved forcing that and other things that brought it up and other things recorded. Because these are people enter every campus I went to, time use / estimate roles. Also, Kevin Harris is roles with a Fred Grisey and at Quinnipiac University, per Rick Cianfaglione, and other recorded proofs. They were influenced to have people record fake things, fake ties, fake natures of ties between people, and fake motivations because they have hyper porn involved there, criminally foreign influence. Quinnipiac University has roles with all kinds of natures of organized crime. And then they're going to have the statistics specifically where it's relative, where we have Black people's rights of eyes, and people are still speaking with passions and emotions about who has research or not. That's just one of the ways to describe something that could be wrong with someone's argument or logic or reason or nature. So because eyes are criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions, or sickly distinctly at campuses A through Z. You have James Maston's communications change. And you have self-valued roles with uses of their words, leaving out what they declassified about that. Leaving out what they declassified about the scientific value of the human fact treatment nature breaching method. Clearer than day, discernible, Black pupils, whites of eyes. Many pray. See, one of the things they do is jump in, and they get away with it relative to the fake things they're putting in databases. They're locking kids of each age of fact treatment nature incapable of going back and of reporting discern that acute particularity that would have been incapable of themselves and of each age with it at the same time. Otherwise, one of the ages sensing. Little kids are closer to the ground. Supposed to help each other sense. Supposed to remember as adults. Worms. They used to walk into the bodies of water in the rain. Not just into puddles. They used to walk into bodies of fresh water where there used to be fish and life. Now those ponds were put underground. They were tactically denatured. There's no life even if there's still worms in the soil. The worms aren't coming out of the soil like they hardly exist in it at all. In the rain, there are no longer bugs constantly going on the surface of the water and getting eaten by fish. But then the worms start walking into the water. In the rain, there are less bugs available in the sky for birds. That maybe at that moment they're really hungry. Nature provides. Here comes the worms out of the soil. It's raining. See, we have nature answers our questions, showing us things that we have forbid free speech. because it is, and those things that are true always are pretended, debatable black pupils. They pretend we have a world view. We have greater than a world view, black people. It is by what it is also has the other species bodies this way. So distinctly, but not distinctly, simultaneously, but as that further hyper simultaneous, so we can discern that further hyper simultaneous. A 10. So please, Judge Napolitano, let's get them on paper. There's a judge. There's a Dr. Shamsi Ali. He didn't say the word forge, but I had no conversations with any doctors there. A Dr. Shamsi Ali, he implied, he said, the way he said he was no longer with them. He's one of the ones involved with the FBI director and the court's judges and prosecutors personally and professionally involved with this Leahy family. Also with his kid's picture on Facebook, planting fake ties, fake natures of ties to me. On Facebook, his little kid daughter. I didn't even respond to it. And they still have my Facebook page locked on there, and they're putting people typing fake things, and their readings of statutes and precedents are criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw, and they're shown that they have to hide. They already had roles with such. All natures of criminal and civil cases, the interbranch are collusions at the same time with the same sequence shifts, even in the World Trade Center attack context. They have a Scalora family, interstates and internationally involved with them. For worse, black pupils. Let's get the Wethersfield police with the rest of their confessions regarding that, because they have more people involved with the campuses and criminally foreign influence uses of my name. So this is worse than just extortion, black pupils. I'll show you what's going on with the campuses too. Get them on paper, the medical too, because there's some medical offenders with the kids, obviously. And there's some criminal incompetence with that, especially the ones with badges. Get them on this conversation, Wethersfield, Connecticut. Students, get them on here. Get them on paper. Have them be honest. See, what do? They pretend they could even communicate with people. They do things fact, cheap, nature orient, like try sequence shifts, start pretending fake things. They use the right to lie, but they don't have the right to lie at the locations, areas, and states at every country. A through Z, because they are used remotely, individually grouped together. Sick, fake integrity, black pupils. It is time. Please, Judge Napolitano, let me show you this is right. And in other words, please, you would love to help us, because it's right here. It's nature itself demonstrating how and where we need help best and how to explain it best. All we need, all exceptions with those words and things vaccines. Sometimes it rains, sometimes it will snow. Please, Judge Napolitano, get them on paper, one name and sequence, interbranch, intercities, with the Wethersfield police, though. Let's get them, because these are Wethersfield police families, intercity, on off the campuses. Increasingly, when people put to influence, other people's are influence when they have behavior and estimations of behavior, too. Mass behavior racketeering, which makes it relative and critical that we don't leave out the tactical delusions I noted and the means that we could all discern this. That's why you get them on paper, Judge Napolitano, please. And I want a response for the rest of the principal child abusers' confessions and the names he and others brought up. I didn't even get a response for that. And they changed and faked what was hidden recorded. And they're putting fake transcripts. I didn't even get to talk at all. They make a whole bunch. They make the person say like one or two things. Make them make more confessions, more demonstrations, bring more things up. Still never talk to me. They don't even know what I'm going to say yet. And they kept calling back with more. See, there are people using these campuses for criminally foreign influence ways, tactically delusions raw. Increasingly, people with whiting forensics and what is it called? And the prisons of Connecticut involved with rackets with foreign and domestic military and next to the state corrections offices and next to the state judicial branch offices. Black people, as ones involved with wire crimes on my street, planting identity theft, fraudulent cover-ups as their roles with people at the World Trade Center in Manhattan from Connecticut. They'd first been intercity and intra-city and inter-campuses and intra-campuses. Influence rolls with from off those locations, but then hyper additionally through it. And specifically for these people to pretend the passions and emotions about why people are using people's names. The court's offensively pretending not to realize that, but they recorded that when they recorded it in the news too, planting evidences, predicate acts with the news. If they want forgiveness, get them on paper, please, Judge Napolitano. One name in sequence, one narrative. There are a whole bunch of their names switching and forging intercities and interstates. Central Connecticut State University in Brayton, Connecticut, increasingly has roles with people with predicate acts against me in Wethersfield, consciously that I don't know their names, they know my name. But more and more, I know some other names about. Fear God, please. Judge Napolitano, do what's right. Vaccine.